Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you're having a lovely day. So today I'd like to discuss right to repair in California and why, in my opinion, this bill has been being cock-blocked for a very long time. This is an interesting piece from the LA Times, and I'm not going to read the entire piece. I'm just going to read a short summary from US Perg. It says, once the bill makes it through the Appropriations Committee, it goes to the Senate floor. If it passes there, it has to run to the State Assembly. We think it's a great bill and it's got a strong chance, but it'll have to make it past the tech lobbyist gauntlet. The chairman of the Senate Appropriations Committee, Democrat Anthony Portantino of Burbank, has never explained why prior bills stalled out, but there's good reason to bet it has something to do with the tech lobby. Now, Senator Anthony Portantino of Burbank is the chair of the Senate Appropriations Committee, and that is where this bill seems to continuously stall. So if I go over to the California Legislature website and we scroll through the California Legislature website with my browser doing something really weird with Zoom. Look at this. That's super tiny and that's super... Anyway, that's Verge. If you take a look, it winds up getting to this committee, and then 6 months later, it dies without any actual reason why. And one of the things that's really interesting is that in many other states, this process is somewhat public. So, again, we have the Maryland right to repair hearings, Boston right to repair hearings, Washington right to repair hearings. But this bill dies in committee. And one of the interesting things about California being such a bastion of progressive values is that you don't get to hear any of the discussion that results in that bill being killed. It just dies behind closed doors with one particular senator that appears to not tell anybody why. This here comes from US Perg. Just to be clear, with conflicts of interest, I have given this group hundreds of thousands of dollars because I genuinely believe in Nathan Proctor and Kevin O'Reilly's ability to advocate and get work done. And I really do support the work they do with Right to Repair. It says, support is pouring in around California for a pending Right to Repair bill, which would allow Californians access to the parts, tools, and information needed to fix their electronics. On May 3rd, the LA Times editorial board called for lawmakers to advance Senate Bill 244, which is currently pending in the Senate Appropriations Committee, chaired by Senator Anthony Portantino. Similar legislation has stalled before the same committee for the last 2 years. In addition to citing Perg's research on how much repair could save consumers, the editorial board noted the time has come for California lawmakers, looking at you, Senator Portantino, to stand in support of this important anti-waste effort. And this is a direct quote. This is the third time editorial writers at the LA Times have endorsed Right to Repair. Not only that, but tech columnist Brian Merchant called for progress in a May 12th column entitled Californians Deserve the Right to Repair Their Electronics, Even if Big Tech Hates It. In addition to support from the Times, the Los Angeles Unified School District wrote a letter on May 11th calling for Senator Portantino and the Senate Appropriations Committee to advance right to repair legislation. In their letter, LAUSD noted that it is the largest consumer of electronic devices for education in the state, and that it can be challenging to get the parts or information needed to fix those devices. The Senate Appropriations Committee will hear and potentially vote on the pending legislation on May 18th. If you live in California, he suggests that you tell your state legislatures to vote to support Right to Repair here. And he has a link where if you live in California, he's asking you to tell your state legislators to support Right to Repair here, and they have a beautiful little form that automatically finds you who your legislators are based on where you live. Now, recently, this has actually made some serious strides. If you take a look, this actually did just make it on around the 18th to the 19th through the Senate Appropriations Committee. This comes from US Perg. The California Senate Appropriations Committee on Thursday passed Senator Susan Eggman's Right to Repair Act, sending this landmark legislation to the full state Senate for further deliberation, which is obviously a great step forward that this bill is no longer dying in committee. I think it's starting to get more attention, and they're starting to realize that consumers are going to start asking their legislators, why are you ignoring this bill? And I think that that is a good thing. Something to understand here is even as far back as 2 years ago, it says California State Senate Committee ICE's bill that would help hospitals and patients. After the California Medical Device Repair Act passed through the California Senate Committees on Health and Judiciary in recent weeks without a single opposing vote, the Senate Appropriations Committee chose to not pass the bill on Thursday. And who is the head of the Senate Appropriations Committee? Senator Anthony Portantino. Even though this did pass its way through, I still would be curious. I would just want to understand, why is it that for 2 or 3 years you blocked this bill from moving forward? I want to understand why, so that I can feel confident that you are not going to sabotage this bill as it continues to move forward. I think that he let it through due to public pressure, but I want to make sure that 2 things occur. A, that public pressure is maintained so that the bill actually has a chance to make it to the finish line without getting destroyed like the New York bill. And B, I'd really like to understand why it is for several years he slow-walked this or blocked this from occurring, because I want to ensure that he is not going to be a part of why this bill does not get passed into the future. Again, as it says here, not a single opposing vote in another committee, and he just, again, behind closed doors, sorry, we're not going to be moving forward with this. The recent change of heart is really not something that I personally feel comfortable with without more information, and I'd like him to actually give his constituents more information. The thing is, I'm not a taxpayer in California, and hopefully never will be, but in all seriousness, I'm not a taxpayer in California. I don't really have the right to ask these questions. So if you are a taxpayer in California, and if you are in his district, I would very much so appreciate you asking the question and asking bluntly and honestly, why have you opposed this in the past? How can we know that you are not going to block this bill behind closed doors without giving us a reason why if it fails or winds up with a poison pill in it into the future? How can I be assured that you are going to do the right thing here? Because again, at least with other states, you can get them on the record saying why they think it is a good or a bad thing. Here, you can hear people say why they think it is good or bad on the record. Here, you can listen to them ask why they think it is good or bad on the record. In Maine, you can listen to them say why they think it is good or bad on the record. But here, again, in one of the states that's supposed to be one of the most progressive in the nation, I have no idea why this stalls. And if you live there, probably neither do you. Personally, when it comes to getting reelected, I think that he should be more concerned about what his voters think than what the tech lobby thinks. But that requires that voters email him and call him and go to his office and ask, why did you not support this bill? I'm just curious why it continuously dies in committee. If you vote there, if you pay taxes there, you have the right to an answer. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now.